guys, thank you and welcome back to my channel. So this week makeup look is gonna be another date night makeup, and tonight is the night that I'm doing this makeup for Valentine's Day, and we're gonna go out to town in just a minute, and this is the makeup that we're gonna do tonight. And look at this dress right in here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's like holding up by some wire and some hope and some prayer. So hopefully when I go to like town and to dinner and nothing like popped out. Not sure if you can see it, but yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna go in and do this makeup look right here. We're gonna use a little bit more like a fuller coverage for this makeup look because I want something a little bit more like fuller coverage. I want to cover everything, and we'll go out to like the clubs right after, so I want everything to like last longer throughout the night. So yeah, so tonight is actually Valentine's night. If you are watching this video, you're probably doing a date night makeup look or prepare yourself to go into a Valentine's Day. So if y'all are interested in this makeup look right in here, keep on watching, and we're gonna go in and start on this makeup look and get prepared for Valentine's Day. So first I'm going to use a Sephora brows razor to shave my brows, also shaving a little bit of the beard I've been growing. The struggle is real. Okay, so I'm going to go in with a little bit heavier in moisturizer for this makeup look because we're going to go in a little bit more fuller coverage. So the products I'm using is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base Priming Moisturizer. I love this moisturizer because it does have a lot of skincare benefit. Also, it's super hydrating and moisturizing, just enough to hold out with all those powders I'm going to put on a little bit more later on the makeup. Next, I'm going to layer it up with another moisturizer that also acts as a color corrector. This is the Dior Dreamskin Skin Perfector. I love this moisturizer because it does have a little bit more like a pink tint to it. So it acts as like a color correcting, brightening at the same time. Also make your dull skin look much brighter under makeup. And we're also going for a little bit extra glowing today, and we're gonna go in with the MAC Strobe cream. The color is in Golden. I have been using this product a lot lately because I love that glowing from within, that dewy skin look, and that's definitely the look you want to go for perfect Valentine's night. And one step you definitely don't want to skip, and that is to keep your lips super hydrated for Valentine's night. The products I'm using is EOS Lip Balm in Strawberry Sorbet. And for the foundation for this makeup look, as I said, we're going to go in for a little bit more fuller coverage for this look. So I'm going to go in with my all-time favorite, the old school favorite, is the Makeup Forever, the Ultra HD Invisible Cover Stick Foundation. Ooh, this foundation name is so long, and I think the color I'm using is in Y375. It is slightly, like in person it might be slightly little bit like a tint lighter. I would go for a little bit more darker. I think I do have a darker shade Y405 or something like that. It does have a little bit more like yellow undertone, but I couldn't find it this time, so I'm just grabbed my hand on the Y375. It still works, but I would prefer it a little bit darker. Just one tint darker would be perfect. But so far, I totally love this foundation. It does gonna give you a little bit more like a fuller coverage because it's more like a cream foundation, so it's practically gonna cover everything. And it's super hydrating, so it's really good for more normal to drier skin. It does keep my skin a little bit more hydrated throughout the night because sometimes a fuller coverage tends to be a little bit more matte, and it does get a little bit more cracky, and this one doesn't do that, and I totally love it. It's really flexible on your skin. And now, per usual, I'm going to go in with the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. The first color I'm going to go in is called Honey. So this color has a little bit more like a peach undertone to it, so it's definitely going to help cover my blue undertone on my under eye bags. I love bags, but this is not the bags that I wanted, so I'm definitely going to go in and cover them a little bit more. So first I'm going to go in with like a color corrector, and then afterward I'm going to go in with a little bit more of the foundation just to go on top. It's kind of like creating this pancake effect. You put on a foundations, color correcting, and then foundation again. It's kind of like merge the two layers together with this technique, it's definitely going to give you a little bit more like a fuller coverage, a little bit more like an even skin tone, and a little bit more flawless complexion. And so after I applied the concealer, I'm just going to go back with the beauty blender to kind of blend everything out, make sure I press everything in there. And as you can see now, I'm using another layer of the foundation just right on top of the concealer. And as you can see, everything is merged together a little bit more evenly. The color is all corrected. And what a full beat without contouring. So now you know my all-time favorite contouring shade is from Makeup by Mario. So I'm going to go in with the Makeup by Mario SoftSculpt Shaping Stick, and the color I'm using is in medium. I think this color is a perfect shade for my skin tone. It's not so light, it's not so dark. It's gonna give me that perfect bronzy, but still gonna give you that sculpted look and contouring look without looking so gray. That's why I'm like in love with this formulation. It is super easy to blend, and the coloring is not so gray. I hate contouring that is look gray. For some reason, it's doesn't really work well with my skin with like the gray undertone, so I like something a little bit more warmer. So that's why the Makeup by Mario sculpting stick is gonna be the perfect shade, and I'm keep gonna go back in and use this color and shade and formulation until I kind of find a new one that is better. But so far nothing is better than this sculpting stick from Makeup by Mario. I just love it. And the brush I'm currently using is called from Battington or something like that. It's practically like a mini denser bronzer brush. And I love using this brush because it's really dense. It's blend all the cream formulation. Formulation is really great. Also, right after I blend with my brush, I'm gonna go in with the beauty blender to press everything in and also help blend everything out a little bit more better. And the brush I'm currently using right now for my nose contouring is the old school Kat Von D concealer brush, and I told you this on the previous vlog that I love this brush, using this brush for my nose contouring because it does have a little bit more like a flat straighter edge. Also, it's really dense, so it's really help with the cream contouring. And finally, I'm going to go in with like a Sephora concealer brush. So this brush does have a little bit more like a rounded dome to it. And I love using this brush for the nose contouring blending because it's really small and precise. I love using something a little bit more like precision for like certain area. And this brush also more like synthetic, so it doesn't really soak up the formulations like the cream. So with the synthetic brush, it does gonna help blend out the cream a little bit more better. And then once again, I'm going to go in with the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer to help lining and brightening my under eyes. So before we did the honey for color correcting, but this time I'm going to go in with something a little bit more yellow in the tone, a little bit more olive tone, and that's going to be the color 2.6 Café con Leche. Café does sound good right now though. So this color does have a little bit more like a yellow olive undertone. It's kind of like almost perfectly matched with my skin color, just slightly about a tint or two lighter. Sometimes I do like a little bit more brighter undertone, so I go with something a little bit more like 2.4. But this time I want to be a little bit more not so bright, so I'm gonna go with 2.6 Café con Leche. I think this is gonna be a little bit more better match for my undertone, but it's still gonna give me that brightness that I wanted for my under eye. And you know how much I love the NARS Creamy Concealer. This one does give you a little bit more like a medium to more like a fuller coverage. And since tonight we're going all out full coverage makeup look, this is like a perfect concealer and the perfect color. And now I'm gonna go in with something a little bit more new, and I think it's gonna be my new favorite blush. It's gonna be from the Glossier Cloud Paint Cheek color, and the color I'm currently using is in Puff. So I found this one from Sydney Sweeney, the one from Euphoria. She played Cassie. She does the makeup look for Vogue, I believe, and she used this color and from Glossier. And I'm like, I have to buy that one. And ever since I tried it, I totally in love with it. Have you watched Euphoria lately, the new season? It is totally crazy. Which character are you in Euphoria? I think I'm more towards matty, a little bit more matty, a little bit Cassie, a little bit emotional, unstable, Maddie. But yeah, I've been watching Euphoria, it's been crazy. Anyway, this blush color is my new favorite color. It's totally really pink. When you first coming out of like the tube, it's like super baby pink, but when you're applying it, it's gonna give you this like baby cheek color look. And I totally obsessed and love with the colors. Okay, so now that all my cream base are done, now I'm gonna go in to set everything using the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Powder. You know how much I obsess with this powder. I have this powder compact in my like to go to blot throughout the day, and the formulation is really like light. It's really light enough to kind of like set your makeup. Also light enough to touch up throughout the day and not really caked up. So I do obsess with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Powder, and the color I'm using is in number 2. And now to warm up my complexion a little bit more after setting with the powder, I'm gonna go in with the another old school products, the NARS bronzer powder, and the color is in Laguna. So Laguna does have two different formulations. One is a little bit more like a matte finish, and this one it does have a little bit more like a glowing shimmer to it. So this is the one that I like. I do like the matte one also, but I think the glowing one does give you that really like glowing highlight, sun-kissed bronzing looks. I do love this one. Even though I haven't used this for like a long time, lately I've been going back to like all the cult favorite products lately, because those are like the old school favorite and they never really died out, and I always love them even though I haven't tried them for a long time, and once I use them again I kind of like fall in love with them again. And now to go in to sculpt my nose a little bit more, I'm gonna go in with the Kevyn Aucoin, the sculpting powder. So this is one of my favorite kind of like gray shade sculpting powder if I have to use a gray one. I only use this one specifically for my nose contouring, even though my nose is slowly getting more snatch, and I want it more snatch with the nose contouring. And it has been like a year now since I got my nose surgery. So should I do a 1-year follow-up for my nose surgery? Let me know in the comments right down below. But the brush I'm using for my nose contouring is the JD Weighty 180 nose contouring brush. I do love this brush. It's have a little bit more like a synthetic fiber. It's have that perfect angle for your nose contouring and blending. So this brush combined with the Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder is kind of like a perfect combination for your nose contouring. Even though earlier I said I don't like any grayer tone for contouring, on my nose though, maybe if I want to be really sculpted in that one area, my nose would be one of them. I would not want something a little bit more gray on my cheek, but my nose is like a different story. Because later on I'm gonna go ahead and go in and warming it up again with the NARS bronzer. Now that we're practically halfway through the makeup look, I'm gonna go ahead and rehydrate my skin using the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Ultra Fine Mist. And I always like to rehydrate my skin in the middle of my makeup before I go into bake and do all the nitty gritty with my eyeshadow and all the detail work. This is gonna help my skin rehydrate after all that setting powder that I set on before, and practically rehydrate and prep my skin one more time for all the baking powder that I'm about to put on. And earlier when we did the skin prep, I put on a lot of moisturizer, and when you want to put a lot of powder on later, I would recommend using a lot of moisturizer before. With the hydration, it's definitely gonna help absorbing all that powder, and later on when you set everything, it's gonna look a little bit more like skin and not like powdery. So for the baking powder, I think I mentioned that on my last blog of what I use in all the mixture of my baking powder is a little bit of the Ben Nye banana color, a little bit more pinker called Camel, and a little bit of the Laura Mercier translucent powder. If you don't have the banana powder from Ben Nye, you can also use the banana powder from Laura Mercier. I just find like the yellow tone is a little bit too much for my undertone, so I practically just do the formulation mixture of the powder to make it's still yellow, but it's a little bit more like a paler yellow to better match with my skin type and skin tone. And after all the placement of my baking powder is in there, and I'm just gonna go in once again with the NARS bronzer powder in Laguna, kind of like re-sculpting my cheek and punch that color a little bit more because my skin does take makeup a lot, so throughout the makeup it does sink into my pores, so sometimes you do have to like reapplying it, and I like to reapply on my cheek area to give it a little bit more darker shade, because right after that I'm going to go in with the baking powder again just right under my cheek using the Laura Mercier powder puff to cut that cheek to make it really sharp. And while we're in like the baking process, I do love the technique of kind of like baking your blush into your skin while you're doing your baking. So I'm going to go in with the Makeup by Mario, the Soft Pop powder blush. The color I'm using is in Mellow Mauve. So right now, as you can see, I'm doing all my baking on top, on my bottom, and now I'm gonna go in and apply my blush, and the blush is gonna fade throughout the makeup look. So right now it's kind of like the baking process. You're kind of like pressing that blush right into your skin, so later on when you kind of like dust all the powder off, it's kind of like be one with all the bronzer and your skin tone at the same time. Now moving on to the eye makeup look, I'm going to start out using the Makeup by Mario Master Eye Prep and Set, and the color shade palette I'm using right now is in medium. It does have two different shades, a little bit more lighter, a little bit more darker, so I'm kind of like mixing between those two shades to keep the perfect shade for my lid color. So this does have a little bit more heavier consistency than normal concealer. I would not recommend using as like your normal concealer. It's only good for more like your eyelid to help blend out your eyeshadow and make your eyeshadow last longer throughout the day. And in the Makeup by Mario Prep and Set palette, it does have a powder to set your eyeshadow base, but I just find it's a little bit too light for my undertones. So I'm gonna go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Powder in number 2. I just find this color is a little bit more, have a little bit more color that match my skin tone a little bit more better, because I don't want my top lid to be lit too bright using the Makeup by Mario setting powder. And now for the first shade I'm going to apply to my eyelid is definitely going to be, again, is the NARS bronzing powder in Laguna. Since I use this shade all over my face as a bronzer, I just find it's kind of like a perfect deeper shade to kind of like prepping my lid crease, create that depth and definition that I kind of like love right onto my socket line. And because I don't have a really defined eyelid crease, I'm just nestle with the brush against my socket line. If you kind of like look, put your head up and look down a little bit, you can find that perfect placement of your socket. So with the Makeup by Mario taper brush, I'm gonna go in with the bronzer powder Laguna and really nestle that color and pigment right into my socket line. I'm mainly gonna focus all the pigment right on the center top of my socket line. That's where I want the most definition, because later on I'm not gonna cut my crease this time because we are in a hurry. So later on I'm gonna apply a lighter shade right in there. So with the darker shade perfectly placed right on top, where it's kind of like creating that like smoky shadow bronzing on my socket line. Later on when applying the lighter shade, it's gonna pop out a little bit more. And it's definitely gonna take a little bit more time to really build up that color. So just going back and forth with your brush. One brush with more like a pigment and the other brush with more like a cleaner brush to help blending out the edges. And whatever the color I'm put on my top socket, I'm gonna use the same color on my bottom lid to kind of like match and create that perfect transition. I want to create that slightly smoke out under eye. Also, again, earlier I'm using the Kevyn Aucoin nose contouring sculpting shade. Is a little bit more grayer, so I'm using the same shadow brush with a Laguna bronzing powder to just go right on top of it to kind of like warm up the nose contouring a little bit more, because I don't want my nose to look like gray contouring. I want to be have depth and definition and really sharp sculpted nose, but I don't want it to be gray. So just going back with like the bronzer shade definitely gonna help warm that area up a little bit more. So normally I would go in and cut my crease, and because I spent so much time doing my hair earlier before I do my makeup and still my hair look a mess. So now I'm gonna go in with the Dior Backstage Glow palette in Universal. It does have this two shades. Shimmering shade is like a lighter shade and the other one is have a little bit more golden tone. Using the Makeup by Mario flat brush, I'm gonna kind of combine those two shades together to kind of, I wouldn't say cut my crease, but just lighten up my crease area a little bit more to create that really water dewy light effect on my crease. So when I blink, it does give you that like dewy shimmering shade. I would prefer it to be a little bit more cut crease, but because we're kind of like in a hurry and I only have about 30 minutes left to do my makeup before we are late to towel, so I'm just gonna skip the cut crease and apply this straight on, but it's still gonna work. It's not popping as much as I want it to be, but still pretty good. I think it's still pretty good for not cutting crease. It's still kind of like give you that like poppy effect. I can live with that. And then using a taper brush, I just went back with the NARS Laguna, just really define that crease just one more time. And now to go in to apply a quick tight line, I'm using this Scott Barnes Natural No. 1 eyeshadow palette. And in this palette, it does have this black color called Sin. And also using a Scott Barnes flat brush, I'm going to go in with the color Sin to really create this perfect tight line into my upper top line. Also, I'm really thirsty, so Andre brought me a little bit more lemonade because we was in like a rush. I didn't want to go run downstairs to get a drink and run back up. I would not have time, so he brought me some lemonade, which was nice. But back to the makeup. Well, I'm gonna go in with a Scott Barnes flat brush using the color Sin to really create that perfect black and dark tight lining right on top of my lash top lid. Also later on, I'm going to use that same brush and color to create that perfect wing. This time I go out to my wing a little bit more longer because it is more like a Valentine makeup look. I want something a little bit more longer, a little bit more vixen, a little bit more cat eye light. So I do extend that wing out a little bit more. After doing my tight line and wing liner, I'm going to go in with the Scott Barnes Precision brush. I'm obsessed with this brush, and using the palette one more time, I'm going to go in with the color Foxy and really define my socket line and really punching that pigment into my crease. And each time I hear a Foxy, it reminds me of Dr. Evil when she say, "I'm Foxy Cleopatra." And after that, I'm just gonna use a fluffy brush to kind of like dusting off on my big from my forehead, also on my cheek. I'm just gonna save on my under eye for a little bit more longer. So after I went off camera and dust my brows, put on my contacts and dusting off the rest of my big, I'm gonna go in with this Benefit Cosmetics Georgia blush. At first I thought this is gonna be the perfect color shade because I have this for a long time and I never get to use it, but then after applying it, it doesn't really show up, so I was totally disappointed. So this blush was totally bust. So after that blush and highlight from Benefit that doesn't really show up, I'm going to go in with a Scott Barnes Glowy and then Showy No. 1 highlighter palette. I'm going to dip my brush into the color Candlelight and a little bit of like a Sugar Crush. It does have a little bit more like a pinker peachy tone to it. So I would think this is going to be the perfect shade for my highlighter tonight because I want to be really like girly, really glowy, and really like pinky at the same time. And now for the nose highlight, using the same Scott Barnes palette, Glowy and Showy. You know, each time I say Glowy and Showy, I almost say Glowy and Hoey. I mean, if you name that, I would not be mad at it. And with the color Pink Crush and Candlelight, I'm gonna go in with more like a fan brush to really create that highlighted swoop on the top bridge of my nose. And for my brows bone, I'm gonna go in with another flat brush using the color Pink Crush and Sugar Rush. Just applying that right on top of my brows bone. The reason why I don't want my nose bridge to be a little bit more pinkish because I just find it a little bit weird and want my nose bridge to be a little bit more brighter. Also, after that, I'm gonna go in with more like a cleaner brush, kind of like blend everything together from the bronzer to highlight, kind of like merge all the layers together. Also on my cupid's bow, I'm gonna go in again with the color Pink Crush and Sugar Rush. And now moving on to lips. Ooh, we're almost done with the makeup. We almost get to eat, girl. Okay, so for the lip, I'm gonna go in with the MAC lip pencil, and the color is called Spice. So this is like one of the Kylie Jenner favorite lip color for like a very long time ago, like a decade ago when she made it popular. I haven't used this for like a long time. For a while, MAC Spice does get a little bit too red for me for some reason, but now I think they reformulate the color, maybe. Now I'm using it again, I kind of like falling in love with it one more time. So this color is really like more like a nude beige mauve color. It's kind of like close to my lip color almost. It's more like 90s supermodels lip tint, lip color, which I love and obsessed with. So for Valentine night, I want something a little bit more like nude, neutral, almost like my lip color. I don't want something too bright, or I would not go with more like red lip color, because at the end of the night on Valentine's night, you might get to like make out if you like lucky, or the food was good, or the dessert was good, so you might get to like a kiss or something. So would not recommend wearing like a red lipsticks on like date night or Valentine night in general, because you know, you have to think ahead of time, maybe you get like a kiss or something. So wear something a little bit more natural and neutral that is more kissable for Valentine's Day. And P.S. don't you just hate it that girls spend about 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours on Valentine's Day to do their makeup, and boys just went playing the video game and went upstairs, washed their face with a bar of soap that they used to wash their balls with, and they still look cute? Tell me in the comments if I'm lying, and also tell me in the comments if you agree, right? Sticking with the MAC products, now I'm gonna go in with the MAC Powder Kiss lipstick. The color I'm using is in Teddy. I've been trying to get my hand on this color forever. It's always like out of stock, because now I know why it's always out of stock. It's so cute. It's kind of like a perfect combination with the MAC Spice and the MAC powder lipstick called Teddy. These two combination is just like perfect together. It's gonna give you that like natural lip color. I know, I just love it. And also the formulation is super smooth. I couldn't find my lip brush anywhere, so I'm just gonna go in with my finger and just give that little tap. Remember, put it sheer, because at the end of the night you might get a kiss. So don't go in too heavy with the lips. And one of the final finishing step that I never like to skip is kind of like go back into reapplying your eye makeup, the same color, the same step one more time, to really brightening and punching that pigment on your highlight of your socket, also punching that really darker pigment on your socket to really make everything pop. Because throughout your makeup, your eye makeup sometimes tend to like fade away. So I do like to kind of like slowly building up that pigment and color. I don't like to like punch in and put in a lot of pigment at one time. I kind of like building, it's kind of like a building process to create that perfect faded, just perfectly blended eye makeup look. Just go back in and reapplying it. This way everything's gonna look a little bit more like precise, a little bit more pop-in, and it's also gonna last longer throughout the day or the night. And now to go in with the mascara, so first I'm gonna go ahead and curl all my lashes using the Shiseido lash curler. And for the mascara that I'm currently using tonight, it's gonna be the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. It's gonna give you that really full volume thickness that you like. I personally don't like to wear fall lashes. I just find them a little bit too heavy. Sometimes some fall lashes are very long, and I just feel like they look really unnatural for me. So I feel like I'm more comfortable wearing my natural lashes, using something a little bit more like volumizing mascara, put on and be perfect. So yeah. And now finally we're gonna seal up all the makeup. I'm gonna go in with the Fenty Beauty What It Do Makeup Refreshing Spray. I love this one because I think it's kind of like a mix with setting spray with a slight oil base to it. So it's gonna give your skin that really like glowy and hydrating, dewy look. Also for a longer lasting throughout the night makeup, because we all have to wear masks these days. I'm gonna go in again one more time with the Urban Decay All Nighter. So this is gonna help set my makeup much longer throughout the night after we're gonna go clubbing, drinking, getting wasted for Valentine's Day, and God knows what we're gonna do after the clubs. So, yeah. Okie dokie. So this is gonna be the final makeup look for tonight, and I'm actually kind of in a little bit in a little rush to rush out to town because I think we're kind of like running late. And tonight actually is the Super Bowl tonight. Valentine's actually tomorrow, but we're gonna go out to dinner tonight because you know Valentine's dinner menu is a little bit weird and overpriced. So the thing we do is go the day before, a few days before the actual Valentine's Day. Does that make sense? So everything is a little bit more less cheaper, and the food is a little bit more better. That is not like specifically catered to like just Valentine's, because they just hiked up the price. Anyway, we're kind of like late, and it's Super Bowl tonight, so it's probably going to be a lot of traffic here in LA, so I have to rush out right now. But if you happen to like this makeup look right in here, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel right down below, ring the bell button for the upcoming video, and you know all that jazz. Follow me on Instagram at bella.c.snow. Okay, I have to rush out now, so I'll see you again on the next video.